Hello there. Welcome to this Omnibus edition of Happy Times and Places, a positively inclined Doctor Who episode commentary podcast in which I, Toby Hadoke, get a friend to choose a story and then nominate their favourite things about each episode, and I have to guess what they are. Well, welcome to my home. I was going to watch something else tonight, and I thought, no, I'm in the mood for this. We shall explore why very, very shortly. But first, let's introduce ourselves to the special guest who has chosen this particular story. Now, I never watch the videos in advance, but I have to check the very beginnings of them to make sure they work, so I don't get any unpleasant surprises of failing technology sort of live as I do this. So I've seen a snippet of what my special guest has done, and let's say I think he's put in quite a lot of effort and gusto. So you may need to prepare yourselves for Nick Randall, who I met because he interviewed me for his podcast, which is called Scratch and Sniff, where he's interviewed lots of very interesting people and me. I think he had I don't know, I think he must have been let down by somebody off the telly or something. But anyway, he very kindly showered me with gifts after I went and talked about my not very illustrious career at him. And we've kept in touch, and he's lovely. And he's certainly gone to an effort. So let's see who he is and why he's chosen this particular story.
Oh, hello. You just caught me polishing my stalk. My name's Nick. I'm a podcaster and a rancid old Doctor Who fan from the time of darkness. And I mean that literally. We're talking power cuts and 3-day weeks, if you remember that far back. Thank you so much to Toby Hadoke for allowing me this chance to be on your fantastic podcast, Happy Times and Places, to talk all about certain bits of Doctor Who episodes and see if you can guess my favourite bits of those episodes. I think that's right. Very exciting for a Doctor Who fan. Now, some of you out there might think I'm not a bona fide Doctor Who fan, and you just think I've been parachuted in from some below-par 80s sitcom from a commercial channel. But I do actually have my Doctor Who sack here to prove to you that I've got quite a lot of memorabilia. Now, this is actually bigger on the inside than the outside. So what have we got in it, folks? There's the dreaded Daleks. Most exciting there. I've even got my very, very own, there it is, sonic screwdriver. Ooh, and it does work. And what else we got in here? Oh, we have the dreaded silence. Silence will fall. Oh, and we've also got, I've got to show you this, the silence. Silence will fall. All right. Bloody producer. Oh. That's to remind me to defrost a turkey. Today, I'm going to be talking about two classic episodes from the David Tennant, Billy Piper era. The Impossible Planet, that's a planet that's impossible, and the Satan Pit. Over to you, Toby.
I told you he'd make an impression and that he'd gone through an effort. So, Nick has chosen, rancid old Doctor Who fan, has chosen The Impossible Planet and the Satan Pit. And I noticed from the video files, he's chosen 3 and a bonus for each episode. You're supposed to choose 3 from each episode if it's a new series, and a bonus that covers either one or both. Otherwise, I'd just said choose 4 from each. But he's not the first person that's made a mistake in terms of what you choose for the new series, because I don't think I was very clear. If you remember, Lisa Gledhill, I think, chose just 3 things from Tooth and Claw, when it should be 5 for it's 5 for a new series episode, or 3 each if it's a 2-parter, plus a bonus. 3 for each if it's a 2-parter plus a bonus. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Nobody's keeping score or tabs. I mean, I really hope they aren't. If you are, in the words of Alec Guinness, please never do that again. Go and do something with your lives. But I'd also be secretly pleased if somebody was chronicling this nonsense. They won't be. One day, maybe in the future, when all of Doctor Who has been disgorged, they go, somebody will come up and go, I'm a fan of obscure podcasts. Anyway, so I am on iPlayer, which means I might have to leap into action when the closing credits hit. But for now, I'm going to press play in 3, 2, 1. I remember exactly the day I watched. It's been quite a sunny day here, and I've been walking in the park. And in fact, I walked past that park on my way back from a barbecue to watch this episode. It was still a time when I absolutely insisted on watching Doctor Who go out live. I mean, unless I was gigging, but I remember that because I think I managed to do most of Series 1 live, but I remember I missed Rise of the Cybermen because I was doing a well-paid gig I couldn't turn down, and I got a text from a friend telling me about it. The general feeling was that it was mildly disappointing, Rise of the Cybermen, but disappointing at this point was good, but not really, not as amazing as all of the other stuff. And I think that two-part, and then the Idiot's Lantern, which was fine. I actually like the Idiot's Lantern much more now than I did then, where I thought it was fine, but nothing to get carried away about. And then this episode, there'd been a clip on Totally Doctor Who that for the time it went out, I remember thinking, wow, that's terrifying. And it featured Gabriel Wolf's voice. It's the scene where the beast talks to Toby. And I remember thinking, this looks right up my street. So I was quite excited about this. And I walked home from a barbecue in the sweltering heat. I think I can say, historians, this is the only Doctor Who story that I've watched either having just eaten or polishing off a Tangle Twister ice lolly that was melting because it was so hot. So really bad timing for a story that I think is best watched at midnight in front of a log fire. We'd got French windows put in, and the sun was streaming in for this terrifying. And we've got a sort of false cliffhanger here. But I have to say, I think the pre-credits cliffhanger is a moment of genius, and I think it's a shame that we've lost them latterly. But I think Russell T Davies's era does story beats really, really well, and he's got an eye to luring people in. You have the cliffhanger before the story begins, and then pretty much every 5 minutes there's a game-changing moment or a dramatic moment. And it's a way of keeping you interested. And I think these stories do that so brilliantly. So yes, before we get to this, the designs of the Ood are marvelous. Again, it's that clever thing of taking bits of an existing creature. They've got a bit squid-like, aren't they? But they've got a lovely benign quality to their eyes. Silas Carson's voice is also lovely. Danny Webb, one of my favourite actors. I was so excited to see that he was doing Doctor Who, and I was worried because when actors who were doing well when I was younger, appear, in something when I'm an adult, I always sort of hope that they either get top billing or they stay alive for a bit, and that it's not because I don't like the idea of an actor's career sort of dive bombing. And I was very pleased to see Danny Webb gets top billing. Even though he's not, it's a bit of an ensemble piece. Top billing for Danny Webb, who I understand got the part because he was auditioning for something else in the building, and he saw they were doing Doctor Who, and he went and said, "Can I have a word?" And he was actually somebody they'd been thinking of. He was, what did I know him from? He was in Kenneth Branagh's Henry V as Gower, the English captain. And he was in Alien 3, of course. He's turn away now if you've not seen Alien 3. He's about the only survivor, isn't he? He swears a lot. He gets the last line. F him. This is a base under siege story. Absolutely right up my street. My my first Doctor Who book was The Web of Fear. So get a load of personnel, preferably some military ones, stick them in a few sets, because I also grew up watching things like the Poseidon Adventure, where you got to know certain characters, and half the fun was working out who was going to die. Sean Parks has just returned for Big Finish, actually. Excellent actor, award-winning actor. If you didn't see Small Axe, series of films on the BBC, excellent. I mean, it's a really good cast, this. And Mariana Buring, who's gone on, I think this is one of her first things, has gone on to have a fantastic career. Ronnie, I'd forgotten, I sort of knew, because he'd done a play at the Royal Exchange Theatre at the same time that I was there, and he'd come to a couple of my gigs, and we all hung out a bit. He's a lovely chap. And Claire Rushbrook, they were going to bring her back at some point. And Toby, there's only one classic series character called Toby. I'm not talking Tobias. That's Windsor Davis in Evil of the Daleks. There's a Toby here, but there's been Tobys since. There's in the Pirate, the Curse of the Black Spot. There's a Toby, but this is Toby Zed, Will Thorpe, fresh from Casualty, where he played an ambulance driver. So it's a cast of recognisable faces, and it's always nice. I actually quite liked seeing regulars from soaps. I mentioned this when Bruno Langley was in Dalek. Turn up and turn their hand to sci-fi and acquit themselves well, because it was a way of bringing viewers who may be ambivalent towards science fiction into it and going, oh, okay, it's that guy who I know from that thing, and and they're fitting in and they don't stick out, and it this. But I have to say, I once wrote a Doctor Who story when I was at a friend's house, and the opening thing, and we read the results out to the gathered parents, and I read out a scene where they basically did the roll call, because I wanted to introduce lots of characters and then kill them off, and I was halfway through the roll call, and I could see everyone sort of laughing and stifling, because I was aware this was going on forever and it wasn't very dramatic. So I'm always reminded of that shame, because there's about 25 people on it as well, because it wasn't a very elegant way of introducing people. But the reason I chuckle at this introductory scene is because she introduces everybody, including Toby Zed, who's gone, except for Danny Webb's two non-speaking security guards. And having just done the Seeds of Death, where poor old Harvey, who's an extra who nobody ever refers to again, she goes, and that guy's gone as Toby Zed, and that's Danny Webb. That's our head of security. And what are the names of the two guards? Oh, that's Sheila and Keith. Oh right, yeah. They don't say much. They've been marked for death. But it does. But it's because when so much attention to detail is paid on these brilliant productions, it's always been a thing where if you're a non-speaking person, you're a bit like scenery, and so we don't have to think about you. But it makes me giggle, because in a real situation you wouldn't do that. I love Claire Rushbrook's diction and manner. She's got a very gentle, empathic, intelligent quality about her. But I also, doesn't she get the line here where she says, "I'm going to give you some information now, FYI," as they used to say in the old days. And you go, "What? Why have you said that?" I don't stub my foot and go, "Oh, bugger," or "zoons," as they would have said in the olden days. Yeah. So there's a couple of moments that make me giggle a bit. It's such a good production. This. It's such a good production. I love the genius of getting Gabriel Wolf's voice, because it resonates for those of us who love Pyramids of Mars, for which he played the voice of Sutekh, one of the greatest vocal performances in the whole of classic Who history, one of the great Doctor Who villains, represented simply by somebody sitting in a chair with a mask on and a voice. and whose ever idea it was to get him back for this, because it ties in with the theme, because Sutek was an ancient, was an ancient god slash alien slash breeder of the Satan myth, or part of that, and that's what the creature is here as well. So, and it's that, and there's nothing better than something bit sci-fi, futuristic based, very aliens, love that, but taking us right back to our ancient primal fears and mythology, which, because it is old and because it is in the past and because everybody involved in the chronicling of it is dead, somehow has an ancient power as also associated with death and dustiness and the fact that the past is by its very nature full of ghosts. That's that. They're the only people that inhabit it. They're all dead. I love the little character notes. They're setting up Zach. I thought Zach would die in a blaze of glory. I remember we had a little... I like it when the Doctor wears glasses. We had a little... I'll talk about the little internet page that we had maybe a little bit later. I haven't even finished saying how wonderful the Ood are. Silas Carson is the voice of the Ood. We don't really... It's interesting, we don't really explore massively the treatment of the Ood, and especially the fact that they all die at the end and nobody seems to mind too much. So actually these are all nice people on this space station, but they do have slaves, essentially. Although they're willing slaves, I think it is drawn attention to, but actually it's not the point of the story. So it's a lovely, clever little piece of shading that just says, just have an eye on this because it's slightly dodgy. But that's not what the story's about. But it's there, lurking in the background. It's very interesting, and of course they become very important to the mythology of Doctor Who later on. They are a terrific design, a synthesis of design and voice. And, of course, the fact that they are so gentle and benevolent, they do the empty child trick. The empty child is scary because it sounds like a child. The Ood, when they're taken over by the beast, sounds scary because they're polite, a bit like the robots of death. It's the calmness and the politeness when they say, we're going to kill you all, that makes them scary. So much going on here that is brilliant. And this bit about fueling the Empire, starting the war, that was the trailer last week. So it makes you think, is this about some dodgy spacefaring, stripping planets of minerals? It's actually, none of that's very important at all. That's to give them a reason to be there. But actually, the story ultimately doesn't care about that. So it's very interesting that was what was sort of plugged, whereas actually it's just a little bit of texture. Yes, buried something and it's reaching out. And look at all of these close-ups. I have to say there's a bit here that I really don't like. And I'll tell you the bit. It's this bit. David Tennant makes a noise because when he hugs him, which I know some people hate, I'm fine with that. And the Doctor and Rose are worth talking about at some point. Hang on. Yeah, right. It's when Zach says not at all, and the Doctor sort of goes, like a sort of like Bertie Wooster on acid. It's a really odd sort of, because he's being quite sycophantic is the wrong word, but he's being quite syrupy there. And I know there was a feeling at the time that the Doctor and Rose were a little bit too smug, which, as we discover, is being very cleverly woven into it because of their ultimate downfall. And there's precedent for that with Doctor Who. John Pertwee's Doctor's regeneration is as a result of his inner failings, in a way. That the whole of Planet of the Spiders is a parable about having to reborn to to have the rebirth having to cleanse you. This dating back to the ending of Tooth and Claw, where they're having a laugh and they're being sort of set up for a fall. And kudos to Doctor Who magazine, because I know that in their interview with Russell T Davies, they did say that. They did say, aren't Doctor and Rose a little bit smug? And one, I think the fact that they had enough of a relationship with him that they were able to ask him that, the fact that he allowed that to be asked, the fact that that was allowed to go into the magazine, I shows great healthiness and confidence and decency from him as an exec. And a healthy attitude to the program. No, when a lot of the publicity around the show was necessarily an electronic press kit like Doctor Who Confidential, of course it was good. That I remember some people go on various forums, well, they're just going on about how great the show is. Well, of course they are. It's part of it's some really interesting behind the scenes stuff, but they're never going to go. It's for history to tell us which ones were a nightmare or which ones were awful. Although they were pretty candid on Doctor Who Confidential. There was about things that didn't work or whatever. But yeah, the tone was upbeat. But actually, Doctor Who magazine were allowed to ask questions. And I think occasionally the Doctor and Rose are a little bit uncomfortable to watch. And that bit with the Doctor hugging Zack, I can see as a bit Marmitey. I can see why people might not like that. As I say, I'm sort of okay with it, because I think David Tennant's so good, but I just don't like that noise he makes. And you don't. It's not, the camera's not actually on him, so it might not even be his noise. It might just be a bit of the rafters creaking. But it's yeah, I can't even do it. But this is great. They've lost the TARDIS. And look at that shot as well, which is, and it's got Bolero from which my generation associate with Torval and Dean, the ice skaters. In fact, I remember, I'm sure SFX magazine did a preview of this, and I think it hadn't been fully scored. And at the end of this, they'd put a temporary track in, and they'd use Mars, Bringer of War, but the reviewer hadn't realised that and said, and the welcome use of Mars, Bringer of War. And so when I heard this coming, I thought, they're augmenting it with actual music, whereas this one is obviously part of the story, but maybe that's how Mars comes in. Mars didn't come in at all. So that was it was so great at the time, because you'd be on the internet, you'd be fed little bits, tantalising little glimpses, and the places you could go where you could get spoiler-free previews. Jason Arnott did some on Gallifrey Base. I remember SFX magazine did them, and they judged them very well. This was the scene on Totally Doctor Who, which was a kids show, which I taped all of, and I had to be in for. Did I tape on video? I was still using VHS at this point. I'm making my own covers. When the whole world had moved on to DVD. No, I was recording things on VHS. I had a DVD player, not a recorder. This is so brilliant. I love this scene. I love the darkness of it. It's about as scary as Doctor Who can go, really. And it's just a man talking to another man. But it's that... you have the sort of Ring thing, don't you, when that scene that comes up, the don't turn around. Well, of course, if somebody tells you not to turn around, you're tempted to turn around. But yeah, what we had on our comedy forum. Hang on, I like this bit coming up as well, because this is just we're doing a bit of what do they eat. It seems like beans and soya sauce, and it just seems to be a bit of awkwardness with the alien, and they're getting used to the it's still underlining. But I love that. That is just a terrifying thing. The man, the Ood suddenly doing that ancient litany, and it's brilliant because all of that stuff. When you're talking about a creature from mythology, you can have that sort of language that has a grandiosity. based on it because it's from ancient Screed. So you can use language that you wouldn't use now, which again gives it its power. And I love this bit where you get the flash of the, oh, look at that. There are so many amazing moments. This is absolutely chock full with quality spooks and scares. I wouldn't be surprised if when they've watched the first edit of this, they just went, this is just fantastic. And it's a sort of, it's a traditional Doctor Who base under siege, except in the next episode, of course, it becomes... No, of course you don't know Alexa. Sorry, I'm being heckled by Alexa. I must stop saying her name. Yeah, she's like a voice in my ear saying things that terrify me. I adore this scene. I think it's absolutely terrific. It's scary, and it's just a basic thing. If you're a kid watching this, I should think you discovered that the colour of adrenaline is brown. I just think... Yeah, the temptation. It's like The Ring, isn't it? Don't look at this. And Gabriel Wolfe is so amazing. And it's brilliantly directed. Is this James Strong's first one? I think it is, and he does a terrific job on this. One look and you'll die. And the camera's coming towards. But of course, the second episode becomes something different. You've got that whole long bit of the Doctor musing on religion and what it's all about. It looks like it's going to be a story that's going to go one direction, and you still get plenty of that, aliens kind of stuff. But there's more to it. And that's so clever, isn't it? The writing's gone. Where is it? It's on his hands. That is, it's not on his hands yet, but it's going to be on his hands. Sorry. It's on his hands, guys. And the music, I just think that's a brilliant Doctor Who scene. I remember watching it in the blazing sun, just going, oh, this is the Doctor Who I never dreamed of, and yet now this is it. This is perfect Doctor Who to me. This is perfect Doctor Who reimagined for the 21st century. It's got stuff that's like Doctor Who, even though it's stuff that Doctor Who hasn't done, or if it has done, it didn't do it in that way. Oh, it's just, I love it. Sorry. I know I'm supposed to be being positive. Sometimes it's easier than others. And there's always something that's gauging your interest. And of course, this is brilliant seeding because, we have the roof opening, which later on is going to have quite a horrible moment. And you've still got lurking the fact that the Doctor and Rose have lost the TARDIS. And of course, they're going to get it back in the end, but it just gives another moment of jeopardy. And it puts them on edge. It puts them on the back foot. And even though these people seem nice, but you do have that lurking at the back, they are slavers in a way. And you've also got lurking, what? Keith and Sylvia haven't... Have I called them Keith and Sylvia? I think so. They've just had their dinner. Jefferson sign off the airlock. Scooty go and do a thing. Keith and Sylvia, what are you going to do? Play table football? I think you saw Jefferson actually incline his head there to say, "You two come with me." See, Claire Rushbrook doesn't even speak to them. All right, I'll tell Keith and Sylvia. Are you going to blank them forever? Ida. And the score for this is very good as well. It does have. I think Murray Gold, who would also for some quarters get a lot of stick, I think is hugely responsible for the feel of a lot of these stories. And I know a lot of people don't like wall-to-wall music, and there are occasions. I think comedy scenes perhaps don't always need plinky-plonky accompaniment to tell you that they're comedy, but I'm a comedian, so I would say that. Just leave the jokes to us. We don't need you to signify them. and I had these soundtracks. So yeah, we had on a comedy forum that I used to go on. I used to go on all sorts of forums. I used to so worry about what people had to say and if people were mean, try and correct it. I couldn't give a stuff what anybody thinks now, and I don't know why people do. I see people on Twitter today getting angry with people's reaction to the Comic-Con trailer here or this piece of casting there. I don't care what anybody else thinks. Do you know what I mean? I want everybody to like Doctor Who, but if somebody's going to get cross with us, fine. Nobody's opinion is wrong. I'm not going to change their opinion either. So it's bizarre that people get angry with other people's opinions. But I was there. I spent way too much time in the early days of internet forums, patrolling it for information or people saying things that I didn't agree with or little snippets about the new series, particularly, stuff coming out. Who's calling her? This is a lovely little mystery. He is brilliant. And it's great because you just have the devil speaking through different people. So yeah, anyway, on this comedy forum, I'd always do a thread about the latest Doctor Who, and I said, let's play who do we think's gonna die in what order, and I thought everyone was gonna die apart from Toby and Ida. I thought they would be the survivors. I thought everyone else would get killed. I thought Danny would get killed first because he's slightly cowardly, and sort of comic reliefy. I thought Zach was, definitely going to prove himself by, doing something brave and proving that he could be Captain Stay Behind to blow up the base or whatever. I thought Jefferson, would pretty much go the way that he did, doing something brave and holding people off. I didn't even bother with Sheila and Keith. I knew I think Sheila dies in the trailer. Sylvia or Sheila? Which do I prefer? Sheila. I think Sheila dies in the trailer for next week, doesn't she? Her death is... and Keith dies this week. Yeah, so I knew they were toast. I knew they were toast from the minute they didn't say anything. This is brilliant. And of course, there's not all that number. I saw this, in Doctor Who Confidential. They got fewer Ood than that, and they just had to shoot it a few times for the sort of aerial shot. And this is great because I don't really know what any of that, basic 30 and all that, what it means. But what it is it's a number that ups the ante. It's a thing that goes off the scale that, look at that, and you will worship it. And it's the fact that they're so kindly a voice that makes them so terrifying. Oh, poor old Scooty Minister. And she's had a brilliant career, hasn't she? And they in the Doctor Who Confidential, they went into great detail about, because she had to go underwater, didn't she? Then they had some underwater filming for this. So I think the commentary that they had on the episode, those were the days, weren't they, when there was a red button commentary and you got a commentary on the DVD. They really went to... Being a Doctor Who fan at this time was the best. It was just the best. My personal life wasn't in it. God, it's so much water under the bridge between then and now. God, Mike. So when was this? This was... God, so my kids who were infants, tiny children, juniors, then are now men. Lots of... I've disappointed more than one woman between then and now. A lot of water under the bridge. This seems... I consider this new Who, and if I think of the amount of life I've lived between then and now, why did I get onto that? Oh, well, because my Anna Buring's had a fantastic career since then. But being a Doctor Who fan at that time, life wasn't particularly great in many ways where I was in my personal life and in my upstairs. Being a Doctor Who fan was amazing, and I think, and I think I'd lived a lot of my life being cross about the fact that Doctor Who wasn't on anymore, because it really was, still is, the thing that gives me the most pleasure. That not only had it come back, but this is series 2, and people are still sticking with it. The difficult second album, suffering the loss of a Doctor, actually and that's great, because somebody has to die, and it's lovely. Poor old Scooty. That's a great way of doing her death as well. Just the glass and her hands coming away. We like poor old Scooty. Good name too, Scooty Minister. It's a great name. But being a Doctor Who fan at this time, I almost feel sorry for young, and I can't believe I'm saying it, because I bumped into somebody I used to go to school with the other day, and we're both 47, and we were saying we still both look out of the same eyes that we looked out when we were 18, where we thought 47-year-olds knew everything and had it all sorted and didn't have any worries. Oh God, I'm still clueless and terrified. Clueless and terrified and disappointed. But Doctor Who, Doctor Who was riding high, and after all of those years, is everyone there? Where are Sheila and Keith? Are Sheila and Keith there? I don't know if they are. And I wonder if there was a discussion about Sheila and Keith at any point. But it was, oh yeah, there they are. They're in the foreground. Good. Yeah. Oh, and I like Danny. That's Danny Webb said, "Come on to them there as well." Danny Webb is being a nice actor there. Is he's sort of including the supporting artists in his business in order, and that's nice. And I know when you're a performer who's got very little to do, and there's a performer of stature with you, and they sort of include you in what they're doing. It's nice. Oh, Keith got to do a bit of hand acting. She's not. I haven't seen her anywhere. And of course, this is brilliant because we've already established what that is. And Rose sees it before we do. And that's it's interesting. The effect looks slightly dated now. I remember at the time it was it's state of the art. I still think it holds up, but it's, and again the fact that he does it in the official way, rather than saying Scooty's dead, give her official state, blah, 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 that gives it more gravitas. He's very good, Russell T Davies, at making each individual death land, each individual dramatic moment land, and the timing of the way a face turned and the cutting. And so it's not just Russell, it's the direction as well. And give a good actor a speech. Yeah. And I don't know what that's from. And I think it is from something, and I think it might be a slightly truncated or cut about, but whatever it is, don't write in. Again, I'm a sucker for something that sounds like it has import, even though it's just words, but it gives it you feel the death of Scooty, and each person reacts in a different way. Ida's, she was 20, is a very human response, but Jefferson's reaction, which is less sort of personal, but somehow acquires a loftiness because of he does it in terms of the way that he does his job. Is this the first time? I think this is the first time we see the orange spacesuits as well, which become a thing. Sean Parks is great, and this has taken its cue from Alien and Aliens in the fact that they're ordinary people doing a job, and they're not all wearing silvery overalls and space hats. And there's lots of industrial smoke and all of that sort of stuff, which is great. And there's a bit of this Murray Gold theme is a recurring one, isn't it? while I'm enjoying this adventure, I hope that you are. And it actually hasn't become that basey under siege yet. It's more sort of Space 1999 thing, isn't it? 1999, Space 99 we used to call it, of, you know, somebody being taken over by something. And of course somebody being taken over by something is always good, because, you know, you get the strength of the actor rather than it having to be, you know, somebody in a rubber mask or something. Although actually the rubber mask stuff going on here is great. So we've got Ida and the Doctor going down. They make a nice pairing, don't they? Ida and the Doctor. She's one of those great, like Jane Hampton in The Awakening, and Todd in Kinder. A sort of intelligent. I don't want to say older woman, because that's. I just mean older than often companion types are. The sort of people the Doctor normally hangs around with, and I really like the dynamic that they have, and I got a feeling he was thinking of bringing her back at some point, wasn't he? And then it didn't happen. But she would have been a character that I would have quite happily seen return, and brings a lovely humanity. She's got, as I say, she's got such a sort of gentle, empathic quality about her as an actress. And I sort of knew who she was, but I didn't associate her with a particular program. But yeah, she's great. It's a great cast. Not a weak link in the cast, I don't think. You know, this is getting very, very exciting now, because the Ood are on the march, and I think this is bad news for Keith, isn't it? Who's not going to shoot them because they're valuable in their livestock or whatever, which gives him an excuse because sometimes you think, why don't you just kill them? And so they're down at the bottom, which is lovely. But now having lost the TARDIS, we're now going to have Rose and the Doctor separated from each other. There are always odds, and it's always tied to that central relationship. I love the gravity globe. That's a nice little bit of sci-fi. Oh, there's a gargoyle-y thing in the rocks. I like that. Because this is location, isn't it? Which gives it a fantastic sense of scale. But it's location augmented, which I can see much better on this big screen than I recall at the time. I don't recall the big scary beasts being quite so noticeable. Oh, I'd just forgotten. I haven't seen this for a while. I like it, though. And of course, poor old Sean Parks, if you think about it, if you break down his contribution to this, he must have spent a couple of days just in that chair acting, because he spends quite a lot of his screen time on his own. And actually, to stop that, to keep the energy up, to actually behave as if you really are talking to other people, and to keep it alive, that takes... I think that's sometimes the invisible acting that doesn't always get the credit that it deserves, because it blends in so seamlessly. But you need a good actor to be doing that sort of stuff. Yeah, what's happening, Danny? Ask Keith. But all of this industrial stuff is great, and it's funny because there's a lot of yellow in the set, which yellow is not a colour one associates with horror, but it's basic 100. Yeah. See, that it doesn't really mean anything, but it gives it another. It's like here's a thing we've invented to tell you things are bad. don't call her Officer at Arms. Call her by her name. Oh, now she just nodded then. So that yes, sir, will have been done in post by not the actress playing the part. It's how a lot of things are done these days. Now, I think to do a yes, sir, I think that's perfectly acceptable. But you quite often now get parts that would have been played by an actor. Spooks used to do it all the time, where I'd be sort of out of focus over somebody's shoulder, and they'd say, "Sir, here's some important stuff that we're telling you," and the shoulder wouldn't belong to the person doing the voice, because you could pay the shoulder an extras fee, you could pay the voice person an ADR fee, and it saves you having to hire an actor and give them all the things that you have to give actors. So it means that the parts that people used to be able to help augment their careers with, by doing bits and bobs here and there, are sort of getting ironed out or diminished or changed or not happening, which is not great news when work on television is so scant. Love this. Oh, Gabriel Wolfe, and well done Will Thorpe as well, because. And poor old Toby had been so sweet, and of course he still is when he loses. But just the little things like the crunching of his muscles there when he does that. And I'd totally forgotten about this. The whole brilliant, the devil playing with the psychology of everybody. So we don't know what Mr. Jefferson did, but Danny Webb's acting tells you all you need to know. That his buttons are being pushed by this creature, and of course the devil is the voice in our head, and there's the scene next week when again he preys upon everybody's insecurities, and of course it's our insecurities that bedevil us, as it were. And he did a nice little look there, Will thought, when the devil had taken him, to show that, oh no, Toby's still. So you for the whole thing, when Toby's not the devil, the beast, you actually feel quite sorry for him, which is why I thought he would be okay. Which is why it's quite a nice sleight of hand that he retains that vestige. I think at this point you're desperate for somebody to shoot somebody, because there's a lot of stand down, click your weapon, don't do this, blah 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 blah. And I think Mr. Jefferson does start shooting, because I'm just getting to the point now where I go, somebody shoot somebody, for goodness sake, because I think Keith really takes his time. You don't know what you're doing. I mean, shoot first, Keith, ask questions later. But he's got quite pointy sideburns there, Keith. Yeah, see, if you'd fired when he was at the foot of the stairs, Keith, you'd have lived to episode 2. But Danny doesn't go, Keith's dead. I think Keith and Sylvia are brother and sister, and they're both called Harvey, and they're related to Harvey from the Seeds of Death. That I've decided that, because if say Danny had been with Jefferson and Jefferson had just been killed, he'd have gone, Mr. Jefferson has died. But Keith isn't even mentioned in the log. Actually, at the end, does it? They list the Ood before they mention Sylvia and Keith. I'm very, very sad for Sylvia and Keith. Sheila and Keith, I don't even know her name. This is the problem. She's called Sylvia Sheila Harvey. She at least gets to survive to episode 2. This location stuff's great. There was something about the size of the hole, isn't it? Don't they say... I'm terrible at maths and sizes and anything anyway, but don't they say it's 20 foot across and it's not, it's 20 metres or the other way around? But that I had to have that pointed out to me. It didn't occur to me at all, because obviously that's not really there. But this is brilliant. This is a great cliffhanger coming up. That is a huge cheat, but everything is piling on. So you've got the Ood on the march, the planet is going into the black hole, the Doctor and Ida are next to the Devil's Pit, which it's going to come out of. The Ood are marching on Rose. I mean, everyone is in danger. every element of the plot and every character has something that is imperiling them. Although in the Dr. and Ida's case, it turns out that that's just the camera. It's not actually the devil, which is a bit of a cheat. But I think that's brilliant. I think that's so exciting. I think that's atmospheric. Oh, I can read the credits. Danny Webb at the top of them. Gabriel Wolf. The fact that Gabriel Wolf was sucked through time from Pyramids of Mars to voice the devil in this, I think, was a moment of genius, and it shows respect to the old series as well, which is important to me, and I think they did. I think they did very well. You know, I think they did to just the right amount, actually, because you can be too respectful, too obsessed. See, that is so unfair on poor old Sheila, but that's very Aliens, isn't it? But this, you're watching this going, this is just a movie. This is a movie, and that was a movie. So and they look so good. And that flash of the devil, is there going to be a flash? Yes. Oh, so good, so good. Well, I'm not going to watch the next episode, and because of course the Next Time trailer was at the end of the episode, I got to see the whole credits moving at a readable speed. That's a terrific episode of Doctor Who. I don't think there's much wrong with that. I think it's all done really, really well. Favourite bits, favourite things, and he's chosen 4, I think. I think the Ood are fantastic. I think in conception, design, voice, there's so much expression. They're totally believable. The texturing, everything. The Ood, they're brilliant. And weren't the Slitheen supposed to be in that at one point? I know that it'd be interesting to see the original script, because I believe it was changed quite a lot. Anyway, let's not get into that. The Ood, number 1. Number 2, the scene where Toby and gets don't look at me, and the Beast, and I'll include in that getting Gabriel Wolf to voice the Beast. So if he chooses that, that is encompassed by my choice of that scene. I've got to choose 4, haven't I? I think the fact. Well, I think the ensemble cast. I don't want to choose anybody. I'm not going to single anybody out because I think they're all very good. So I think that's going to be number 3. And number 4, I will choose, well, the fact that it's the devil, the fact that it's a primal horror, that you have an alien threat, but that also is dressed in the clothes of horror, and I love that combination. I'm much more scared of horror than I am of sci-fi. This is sci-fi with a horror baddie. Beautiful. I wonder what Nick. Oh, no, he's done them in separate files. So this is Nick's favourite thing, number 1.
Thank you, Toby. And let's talk about the impossible planet. There are so many wonderful Doctor Who moments in this episode, but it's really, really, really difficult to pick just 3 of them, plus a bonus one, which I might have a bonus one for each episode and just completely change the rules, because that's what the Doctor does, doesn't he? He also lies. I'm not going to lie, but I'm going to tell you what I think about those episodes. Written by Matt Jones, who I used to do martial arts with years ago. Or we went to the same club. I don't think we actually were there on the same nights for some reason. But yes, we used to do that. And he was a teacher at Goldsmiths and then became a brilliant writer, which is fantastic. So Matt, if you're watching, fantastic work. Congratulations on being a brilliant writer. And yes, I have put on a little bit of holiday weight. How many holidays have you been on? Anyway, let's talk about my favourite things of Doctor Who. This episode, the first thing is a little bit left field. It's about Rose Tyler and the Doctor and their evolving relationship. Me, as a viewer, personally, I felt slightly uncomfortable watching because they were making little in-jokes, all very cosy. Mickey had been completely forgotten after 2 episodes. No reference at all since he left. And I just think Rose is getting her feet well under that TARDIS console. So I sort of didn't like it because I felt, as a viewer, slightly pushed away. But I wonder if it was sort of written like that to make us feel, what's happening here? So in a sort of weird self-flagellatory way, I kind of liked it. Because I knew where it was going, because I read a few spoilers, So all I can say to you, Rose Tyler, is there's a storm brewing. There's a storm brewing.
Well, he's enjoying himself, isn't he? That raised lots of things. Yes, Matt Jones. I don't know Matt Jones at all. I knew, of course, he wrote Fluid Links in Doctor Who magazine. He's not written. I've never read an interview with him about Satan Pit. I couldn't tell you what he looks like. And yet, yeah, he's the brains behind an absolutely fantastic Doctor Who story. I wonder one day he will tell his story, I am sure. And interestingly, part of that story will be, and I know Russell has talked about it, but it will be interesting how history takes that journey of the Doctor and Rose and that, because... But there is something self-flagellating about going, oh, my thing's really successful. Oh, they seem a bit happy. And then you read into it and go, so they're being smug. Because suddenly, if people are happy when they're successful, they're smug. That's the rules, apparently. And so your self-flagellatory thing goes, oh, well, I don't want people to think that it's... Suddenly I've gone from being the underdog to being the one who likes the thing that everybody else likes. So I don't want people to think that's... It's amazing, the mental gymnastics we do to worry about what people will think and how people will take our attitude or even the attitude of the characters in the thing that we like, which are therefore reflected on us. But I think it has to be deliberate because it's seeded with there's a storm coming. You've taken your eye off the ball. You've enjoyed it too much, and there's a sort of moral lesson there in being addicted to danger. When she says at the beginning, should we go somewhere? They say, should we go somewhere else? And they laugh, and but wherever they go, they see people die, and it's almost like they're adrenaline junkies who eventually overdose, as it were, and the road, it has to come to an end. So I didn't choose that but for the same reason that Nick did, really, because I find it a bit uncomfortable. I know that it's there for a reason, but it doesn't mean I particularly like sitting in terms of what else is in the story. Those bits, you do make me feel slightly uncomfortable, which is good for a viewer and good for a drama, but it means I'm not sure I like it. Do you know what I mean? I'm supposed to not like it, so therefore I'm not going to choose it. So what's his second thing?
Ooh. Now it's time for my second favourite thing in The Impossible Planet, and that is Scooty's death, which is a little bit morbid, but it's rather beautiful as well, and also it just encapsulates a really classic, exciting, terrifying, wondrous Doctor Who moment. So we start with Scooty sort of closing up for the night. Myanna Buring, who brilliant performance, brief but fantastic. And then this gradual build-up to something's going wrong. We know something's going wrong. Then it cuts to that incredible shot of Toby's head. He's outside on the surface where you can't breathe, and he's got all these amazing scary markings on, and he's got red eyes, a bit like mine now, dear readers. And so she looks really, really shocked. And then there's this rather beautiful, mysterious, spiritual connection, and it's all to do with Murray Gold's wonderful music. It sounds like very cello-like, which is supposed to be the closest of a human voice. So there's that sort of spiritual, it's almost like it's telling some epic story that's connecting them, that we have, we don't know anything about. It's from, beyond the universe or whatever. And obviously he's just trying to mess with her head, isn't he? But I just love that. And then that awful terror when he starts to clench his fist and the glass starts to break. It is terrifying. I mean, my God. So that was fantastic. But, very sad as well. R.I.P. Scooty, sorry, that's my producer there.
Yeah, I nearly chose that. Why didn't I choose that? And because I like Danny Webb's speech as well. I'm a sucker for a speech. Even when it's not me that's giving it. Why didn't I choose Scooty's death? I don't know. It was hiding in plain sight because it is fantastic. And Nick's described the music much better than I could there because I'm not musical at all. And it is the thing that's particularly peculiar to this story is that sort of cello-y score. And I hadn't known that about it being closest to the human voice. That's interesting, but it does give it a sort of ancient, because it feels like it's an ancient reed or something that it's being drawn on. I don't know, but I can see what he means, and he explained it better than I. Why didn't I choose Scooty's death? I don't know, because he's excellent. Oh dear. You see, you forget when you're under pressure. Here's his third thing.
Oh, it's just bubble wrap. I thought I'd been taken over by an alien. That's all right then. On to my final observation and exciting bit of Doctor Who. But I do have one more bit as well, which is a bonus bit. But the end of the episode is my final bit. It's fantastic. It's very, very exciting. It's very Doctor Who-y. There is so much jeopardy going on. The Ood are waking up and they're saying some have called us Satan, some have called him Satan, some have called him Ethel Merman, some have called him Kato, Rani and the Mara, and all that. It's very, very exciting. And the Doctor and Ida Scott are trapped down in the pit, and they've lost the TARDIS and everything. So it's really, really major jeopardy. So that is a pretty humdinger cliffhanger.
Yeah, I didn't choose that either, did I? I'm doing so badly. And yet they're all things I could have chosen. That's interesting, because then as I was doing, after I chose the first two, I was struggling to identify things, and those two should have come into my head straight away. I need to write things down. Now, he's done an extra bit that he says breaks up a lot of the Base Under Siege stuff. So let's see what this extra bit is.
Hello. I'm Lord Squawky McSquawky from the Shansheath. A little bit of Doctor Who trivia here. Anytime a Doctor Who character dies, a Shansheath earns its wings. I'm so terribly, terribly, terribly sorry for your loss. Goodbye.
Okay, for the listener, there was an approximation of a Shansheath there with a sort of emu glove puppet type thing that Nick just happened to have lying around. So thanks to that contribution. And now the Impossible Planet bonus bit. Let's see if I can claw back some. Let's see if he chooses one of the things I blooming well chose.
So to my bonus bit. And it's actually a really obvious bit that I should have picked as one of my main three, but I just wanted to fox you with the Rose Tyler rant. It's Toby. Don't turn around. Toby Hadoke. All that scene. And he looks in the mirror and it's he's got his stuff on and all the rest of it. He's got red eyes. And oh my God, that's a pretty exciting bit. So I would say that is my bonus bit. Thank you. So I'm pretty well done now. I got this sheep from a second-hand cyber sale. It's called a cyber sheep, actually. It gets a bit frisky sometimes, but I think it's safe. Excuse me. I think I better... Goodbye.
Now, you may think that Nick is a frustrated performer. He's not frustrated at all. He's very much a performer and having a great time doing it. Thanks to Nick for his contribution. He will plug his wares at the end of the next episode. He does a brilliant podcast called the Scratch and Sniff podcast, where he's interviewed some brilliant people: Stephanie Beecham, Anne Mitchell, Julie Hesmondhall, all sorts of people. And there's also an episode with me. I suspect he's interviewed my other half as well. I suspect she was the target, and I was, I was the little piece of land that you had to capture first before you got to the capital. Anyway, I thoroughly enjoyed that episode. It was a bit. I loved it at first time when it was the blazing heat, but it really does seem right to be watching it in the dark, as I am, because what was that? Sorry, somebody's saying my name. That what? That they're telling me not to turn around, but I want to turn around, but they'll say I'd die if I turn around.
Thank you so much, Toby Hadoke, for allowing me to be on this podcast, and I'm looking forward to coming back to talk about the Satan Pit with you. Just to say that I have a podcast called SNS Online, where I interview actors, writers, musicians, and all sorts, so check that out. And I'm available for weddings, bar mitzvah, summer season, for the rest of my life. But until next time, it's me, Nick Randall, signing out. Happy times and places.
I awake. Well, I'm still awake. And before I go to bed, I am going to watch The Satan Pit. Why did I say The Satan Pit? The Satan Pit. I think if you're American, you'd say The Satan Pit. Like you say Robin Hood or Doctor Who. Whereas we say Doctor Who, Robin Hood. The Satan Pit. Oh, we do say this. It doesn't really matter. I've already segued and I haven't even started. I think I must be infected by my special guest, the lovely Nick Randall, who has gone above and beyond the call of duty, not only in terms of what he's recorded, but also in terms of the energy and enthusiasm he has injected into proceedings. So he's recorded. You don't have to record an introduction for both episodes, but he has. Of course he has. So let's see what he's going to say about... we know why he's chosen the Satan Pit, because it's part 2 of a 2-part adventure. But he's going to tell us anyway. And for those of you that can't see because you're listening to the podcast, he's got the face of Bo in his hands at the beginning.
Some enchanted evening, I will meet a stranger. I will meet a stranger across a crowded wood. Oh, hello. No explanation for that. Hello, my name's Nick. I'm a podcaster, and I'm also one of Toby Hadoke's warm-up chaps for Happy Times and Places, which is all about bits of Doctor Who that we love and guessing which bits of Doctor Who that we love and all the rest of it, which is very, very exciting. And I am on part 2 of The Impossible Planet / The Satan Pit, and we are up to The Satan Pit. But just before we start, just before we begin, if you don't mind me indulging myself a little bit, I just got this package from Kablam, which is so exciting. It got sent via transmission of interstitial time waves activated by nebulous contortions. Tit wank. So let's have a look in here. Quite a lot of stuff up. Oh, lots of wrapping in here. And bubble wrap as well, my favourite. I'll have a go with that later. Hey, readers. Oh, dear me. You're going to love this. I'm going to love this. If I can open it up. It is a perfect replica, in miniature, of Patrick Troughton's first ever sonic screwdriver.
How about that? From Fury from the Deep, episode 1, scene 3, 4 minutes 25 seconds in. Or something like that. Gorgeous. And, there's even a note attached as well. Oh, thank you for purchasing your completely authentic and commemorative second Doctor Who sonic screwdriver. Oh, its multi-purpose functionality will give you hours of pleasure. And it has at least 3 settings, which is amazing. To quote Yoda from Star Wars, Star Wars? Saw you coming, we did. No, I don't understand that at all. Anyway, this is rather lovely. Just get rid of that up there. Anyway, it's time for watching the Satan Pit and a lot of hijinks and great stories from Toby Hadoke. And meanwhile, I'm going to play with this bubble wrap from Kablam. What could possibly go wrong? Explosion! Explosion! CGI! CGI!
Well, thanks, Nick. I texted him after watching the Impossible Planet and said, thanks very much for going to such an effort. He said, so sorry, I hope it doesn't seem like I've taken over your podcast. And he said, I didn't know, I didn't know what anybody else had done. The whole point of this is that everybody responds to the brief in their own way to show that Doctor Who fandom is a broad church. You have some very factual people who are very, clear-cut and straight. You have some people who choose silly things and do it very lightly. Some people who come to it from a very intellectual point of view. Some who come to it from a nostalgic point of view. And some who treat it as a stage. And each person must do it according to who they are. So I'm loving Nick's contribution, even though I think he's gone to far more effort than is strictly necessary. But I don't mind, and I'm sure you don't, dear viewer/podcaster. Although, if you are listening to the podcast version, do avail yourself of the video when it comes out much later, because they're much harder to put together. Because the visuals there are the making of it. Anyway, I feel like we've already done about half an hour, and we haven't even started the episode. So, it's the Satan Pit, and I am going to press play in 3, 2, 1. And I'm watching a version that has the recap from last week, which is nice. I like a recap. I like a next time on as well. Of course, we'd never, prior to Doctor Who coming back, had, next time on. And I know some people who don't watch the next time ons because they consider them to be spoilers. I consider them to be the sort of the cliffhanger in a way, the thing that lures you back next week. Each to their own. I can sort of understand both. I watched every clip that was coming. I needed things to help me kill the week between Saturday and Saturday. That's changed in Keith. At least we see Keith again. Is that now Saturday to Saturday or Sunday to Sunday seems to blooming well fly by. I go, God, Doctor Who's on again. I think as you get older, the time flies quicker. Its wings get bigger, and you can hear it beating its way to heaven's door. Anyway, we are back into Doctor Who. So there's no pre-credits sequence. The pre-credits is what happened last week. That is fair enough. I think it would be unreasonable to have here's what happened last week, and then we've got to get something really exciting to lead us into the credits as well. Although these stories do tend to have such quick story beats that there is incident every few minutes or so. Although I recall this one being a much slower second part than I'd expected from the first. It's still all very aliens with these guys. Finally, somebody shot somebody. That seems like a bloodthirsty thing to say, but there was lots of cocking of weapons and pointing of weapons, and nobody actually fired. Keith got close, but he got killed. So presumably there's lots of ood brains splattered all over the place there, and they looked very much like they were done in post, those bullets as well. So instead of having bullets flying about, which they'd have so effectively in Bad Wolf Parting of the Waves, I think that was... I could be wrong. Is this where Sylvia gets hers? Yeah, or Sheila? We don't. Sheila, Sylvia. And she didn't even live to have Danny tell her, like he's told nobody, that Keith is dead. So I was gonna. Do you know what I was gonna do? I was gonna actually. The ood marching are so good. I've not to be frivolous. I am being frivolous. And it all seems a bit. Zach seems stuffed, so I was convinced Zach was gonna die. And I really like Sean Parks. He's an actor, I would say, with easy charisma. And of course, it's not easy. It's innate. You've either got it or you haven't. But because he's so normal is the wrong word, but because normal, yeah, he's normal, but he's TV normal, which means what you do is you get an actor who is watchable and charismatic, but you like him because there's seemingly no pyrotechnics there. It's not a virtuoso performance, and which actually makes it all the more attractive. I think he's great. I think this is so well cast. Andy Pryor, who casts Doctor Who. I suspect he's got the. Well, I know he's got the profession at his beck and call, because everyone wants to be in Doctor Who. But early on, when it was coming back, Doctor Who was a bit of a joke, and Doctor Who has, of course, always relied on getting good actors to give it credibility and to beef it up, where big budgets and special effects aren't always available. And Doctor Who's always very cleverly relied on its actors, and I think this is a prime example, which is why I chose the ensemble for The Impossible Planet. However, so I can't choose them again, so I can't go on about them. Now, listen, I nearly, before I did this, went and looked to see the names of the performers who play Sylvia and Keith, because I've got that information upstairs, but I do not prepare for these. I already do 2 podcasts, Too Much Information and Indefinable Magic, which take a lot of work, a lot of writing, a lot of research. I also have to earn a living, and I'm doing a Doctor Who DVD commentary 2 days after this, Doctor Who documentary the week after, and then another day job I have, which involves walking the cobbles of a place called Weatherfield. So I can't prepare for these. Any information I give you is with the caveat, this is what I think. These are I have not prepared or looked up stuff. So part of me really wants to know. I like the idea that and also I haven't researched the new series. I still think of this as, I know probably some listeners to this is ancient Doctor Who, because if you're 25 now, you were 10 when this was on. Is that right? Yeah, about that. Because this is series 2. Whereas this is relatively new to me. So I've never, apart from reading Doctor Who magazine articles and interviews, listening to commentaries on the DVDs when they came out, and the Red Button commentaries, and obviously poring over the stuff when these episodes were out. So, yeah, 15 years or so ago. That's all the information I have. I haven't researched them since in the way that I have the sort of older stuff, because I see that as the need to speak to people from those shows sort of more urgent. I did meet Danny Webb. He was playing Gloucester to Ian McKellen's King Lear. Very well he was. I treated myself to a ticket. They had 1 ticket left, and I had a spare night in London. And my friend Lloyd Hutchinson was playing The Fool. So I met Lloyd after for a drink, and Danny Webb was there. And I said about 3 things to him, and they were all stupid. I'd read in the programme that he'd played Cornwall to Glenda Jackson's King Lear, so I sort of said, "Oh, and you were Cornwall?" And he went, "Yeah." And he wasn't unpleasant, but it was just a really stupid thing. I wanted to say something that would make him like me. I don't know. And yeah, so we had a brief chat. I didn't mention Doctor Who. I did say I know your work, which is, I think, a nice thing to say to somebody. But I don't think I made much of an impression. And it was quite a long show, so there wasn't long in the bar. And I was catching up with Lloydie anyway. But so I've met Danny Webb. But I wish, and I'll tell you why I was happy that he gets top billing this, because there was a Sherlock Holmes with Richard Roxburgh that was done at Christmas, not long before this, a few years, and he'd played Lestrade, but actually Lestrade only had like one scene, so it wasn't a great part, and he was quite low down the credits, and I thought, oh, but it's Danny Webb doing such a tiny part. So when he was, I wanted Doctor Who to be giving him good, and he did, and it did. The Ood are brilliant, and having the alien talk, the beast talking through the Ood, is great. They are so, and making their eyes go red. Suddenly, those benign, rather sweet creatures become absolutely terrifying looking just by giving them red eyes. It's sort of Robots of Deathy. And of course, that's what I was going to say. Yes, it's great. It's brilliantly directed by James Strong. So that's a great shot, panning across the Ood as they wait, and all they're doing is holding balls. But they've turned the translator devices into killers. But those masks are absolutely superb, from the texture to the eyes to the liquid. The moisture on them. I mean, this is top class stuff. And Gabriel Wolfe, oh my goodness. And I think he's slightly puzzled by his contribution to Doctor Who. Although that said, I got to interview Gabriel Wolfe on stage at the 50th anniversary thing, and he'd brought Sutek's speech with him, and so he said, if I may, and he read it out loud on the stage, and everyone gave him a round of applause. So I think he knows that that's his party piece, or life shall, reptiles, fish. He has to go at fish, doesn't he, Sutek? Which seems I don't know why. Everything else saying animals, people, but then when he goes fish, you go, oh, hang on, calm down. This is brilliant. The psychological stuff that he plays. We never know what Jefferson did to his wife. And poor Will Thorpe's a virgin. Goodness me. And of course spoilers, he dies at the end. So he dies one. That seems to. Why do we think? Oh, somebody died a virgin. That's a tragedy. There's all sorts of tragedies associated with something. I suspect as he breathed his last if he didn't think, oh, if only I'd had the sex. Maybe he did. I don't know. Oh, I love that. But that's proper Doctor Who scare. It's quite grown-up stuff, isn't it? Saying somebody's a virgin. It's if you're a kid, I think watching that, you go, oh God, they're talking about grown-up stuff, and that's the sort of stuff. Anything sort of related to sex you wouldn't have had in classic Doctor Who. That's how society has changed slightly. And how viewing has changed slightly, being a bit more honest and open about that. I mean, I think Doctor Who's always judged it quite well. I like the fact that Doctor Who doesn't have a high sex content, and I don't mean actual sex, but I mean that it is quite a chaste show, and I quite like that, because I think there's sex and drugs and rock and roll all over telly, and I like the fact that Doctor Who relies on other things. It gets its kicks from ancient evil rather than the fact that Michelle shagged James or whatever, which is the staple of many programmes, but I think Doctor Who does well to steer clear of it. And unrequited love is a different thing, and again I think the way that they did it with the Doctor and Rose was essential to its success, but didn't actually break any of the cardinal laws of no hanky-panky in the TARDIS. It got very close. Another lovely bit of jeopardy there. Doctor and Ida are stuck. Although, I mean, you would have believed from last week that, they'd currently be dining with the Beast, because the cliffhanger was that the Beast was coming to get them. But actually, it was just the camera, which is a bit of a cheat. I love all the cable that shows it's totally stuffed. So look, Silver and Keith are gone. Nobody's mentioned it to anybody. Why? Yeah, Jefferson hasn't gone. The Uda kind of break in, and by the way, Sylvia's dead. That's a great shot. The production design's fantastic because it's got the circles in the doors, and they've been used at various times. There's one in part 1, isn't there, with Toby with the slide, which is a great cutting from the door to the slide. It's very well put together. Yeah, very good. But yes, I do like the idea that in in 20 years' time, when I'm getting my pension, I go, and now I shall track down all the people from the Russell T Davies era of Doctor Who, and I track down Sylvia and Keith, and she's a big Hollywood executive, and he's been starring in his own show. And I think, oh God, they probably want to talk about Doctor Who. And actually, they both go, no, we love the fact that we were in Doctor Who before we were really, really successful. And we know we've got real affection for it. And then they tell me that they actually did have scenes where their deaths were recorded, and they had a whole funeral and everything, but it had to be cut for time. And then we'll discover that footage, and then we'll get the Satan Pit, the Impossible Planet, the Silver and Keith cut, and then Keith will say, because the actors are called the same, and Keith will say, "Oh, I always actually had a bit of a torch for Sylvia," and then I'll go, "Oh, but actually I know that she's just come out of a relationship, and is looking to settle down, perhaps with somebody she used to know," and he'll go, "Oh, have you got a number?" I'll go, "We don't do numbers anymore. The phones are obsolete. We just transmit to each other's microchips. Have you got a microchip code?" "Yes." And then they'll get married, and I'll go to their wedding, and yeah, I've decided that's what's going to happen. So we need the Ballad of Sheila and Keith, or Sylvia and Keith. Nice little kick you did there, Rose. Billie Piper. I'm in danger of taking Billie Piper for granted, because she was the big surprise, of course. Oh God, Billie Piper, the pop star's going to be in Doctor Who, and she lights up every scene that she's in. She's such a good actress, and it's obviously the continuity between, because we lost Christopher Eccleston so early. Tennant is still the new boy, although this is Billie Piper's last recorded story, I think, isn't it? Because they did the Cyber two-parter and the season finale all together relatively early, I think, didn't they? And this was the last stuff they record. These were the last ones that they did. Oh, this is proper Doctor Who, and it's. I think the reason I like it is because it's what I always wanted Doctor Who to be, when it couldn't quite be that when I was watching old stuff, because it didn't have the resources, and some stories I'd imagined looking like this, but obviously didn't, because they were filmed, well, not filmed, videotaped at a time. You couldn't make stuff that looked like this. So when I read the Target books, they all looked like this, and then when I watched them, they didn't look like this. And this has enough of fulfilling my dreams of what I wanted Doctor Who to look like, but it retains enough of the character and quality and all those brilliant things that Doctor Who did originally, and it hasn't traded any of those in. And you can do such good lighting. The nature of the sets, and it's even got a ventilation shaft. And I like the fact that Danny Webb doesn't do it all sort of, oh yes, aren't we being arch about this? He's totally in the situation. Sean Parks still hasn't been in a scene with anybody else. He's talking to nobody. He's pressing buttons. That's yeah. You've got to be good. So it's getting a bit aliensy. It gets a bit more philosophical down here. I think Ida and the Doctor are treading water a little bit. Although, as I say, I'm watching on a slightly bigger screen than I would have had at the time, and the set and obviously the cheating that they do to make the caves bigger and augment them with bits is Again, really impressive visuals. But yeah, the doctor's about to get very philosophical as he goes down the hole, isn't he? Talk about lots of different religions. Because the beast is chained down. It's interesting because this is sort of related to Pyramids of Mars, and in that the villain is essentially sitting in a chair, being a scary voice, and here the villain is chained up and can't go anywhere, and is essentially a projected scary voice, and other people are doing the dirty work. So there are similarities with Pyramids. I'm not saying it's plagiarized from it. It's just it's very interesting how both ways of dealing with the devil, the all-powerful, is that you can't actually have them loose because they'd crush everybody straight away. So they have to use inadequate vessels to carry out their dirty work. I thought Danny might get it here. And he never did. He never did. Danny survives. I love all of this. I'm a sucker for this. It's very sort of boy's own adventure, or it was the sort of thing that movies did. I remember watching Aliens at home and as a kid and thinking, if only Doctor Who could do this sort of thing. And it can. That's great shot of the Ood in the doorway when the grating falls, and a bottom joke. It's very risque, but again, I think it judges it pretty well. Another good special effects shot, just to give us a sense of where we are. Quite claustrophobic, isn't it? And isn't it great that they're in? Well, they're not in ventilation shafts, are they? They're service ducts, whatever they are. But a good old staple of Doctor Who. And of course, Zach's doing all of that, but the Ood are breaking in, and he's only got, four nails or whatever it is in his nail gun. So, dear, fart joke. They're not my favourite, but I understand there's a place for them. This is great. This must have been such fun to do. This is what acting is to me. It's sitting there with a gun, being dramatic while aliens are after you. Yeah, give me that. I mean, as I say, Danny Webb, I saw his very good Gloucester opposite Ian McKellen's King Lear. But secretly, I think it's probably more fun to play a man in a ventilator shaft shooting homicidal squid beasts. And this is a classic staple where you have to Doctor Who's had it, hasn't it, of in Full Circle where Vash gets stuck behind a door that's closing, and this is essentially what we have here with Jefferson, although we don't know yet that he's not going to make it, but he's kind of sealed his fate by holding the defensive position, and that's all done by suggestion as well, because you've got the shooting, and it's not going to be pretty the other side of it, but we don't see it, so that's fine. Come on, Mr. Jefferson. And it's clever. You really buy all of this. Ronnie Jutty's doing that very well. And the idea that you can only have the air in one place and not the other. Go on, Jefferson. You got it. And this is really tense. This is really good, and that's a great staple as well. The machine gun running out, and you get the pistol out, and then you chuck the pistol, and come on, Jefferson. And of course, he's part of his character is that he's the salty old Sarge, so he's not going to be as quick as everybody else. Come on, Mr. Jefferson. Oh no, I see. Oh, but I love that. This is the stuff. This is the stuff. This is the stuff that gets me. Heroic sacrifice. Oh, and he does it so nicely. I love Danny Webb. Even though I was very unimpressive in his presence. Yes, you did, Mr. Jefferson. Oh. And they can all hear it. That's the great thing about communicators, is you can sort of eavesdrop on intimate moments. Speed up the process. Oh dear. Death by Ood. I'm not quite sure because it does take a while to suffocate, but I suppose if they suck the air out really quickly, do you go unconscious? That's what I'm going for, yeah. And so, of course, Zach has to do it. Oh, dear. That's the sort of thing that makes me... So, of course, I mean, yeah, it's... Oh, see, I'm a sucker for this. With honours, you know, and that's a bit... well, that's slightly subverted a bit, isn't it, in Horror Fang Rock with Colonel Skinsale. Death with Honour. Oh, yes, I get quite emotional at things like that. It's weird. I'm not so soppy about the sort of lovey-dovey scenes, but heroic sacrifice is my thing. I suppose because of the sort of stuff I grew up reading, I don't know. That's brilliant. They've gone all that way, and they're at the final junction. You think, oh, they've got a bit of respite. No, there's Ood on the other side. After, you know, the quiet moment of reflection for the fallen comrade. And this is a brilliant shock moment where you just have Toby do that. That's so good. Because he's been scared, and he's the Virgin and all of that sort of thing. You sort of know that, you know, you just sort of think, oh, well, he was just taken over at the beginning. Oh no, it's still lurking within him. So even if they do escape the Ood, they don't know that they've got the sort of the beast's vessel with them. So it's there's never anything that happens here where jeopardy is not a knocking on the door. For everybody involved. It's so layered. It's so brilliantly structured and pieced together. And he's got his bolt gun. Oh, yes, so you're going to turn the Ood off. Yeah, because... Well done. That's good. Oh, I got quite into that. So I lost track when I was talking about something, wasn't I? Doesn't matter. This is all good. And of course it's making very good use of the Ood, because it's probably only the same half dozen Ood, but they're all on various different sets, so you really get the impression of scale and a large amount of them. That's what I was going to say. Yeah, they put Maynard dead with honours. No, Sylvia isn't even officially dead yet. There could be a whole short trip or something where somebody goes looking for Sylvia and Keith because their deaths haven't even been recorded. Anyway, sorry, I'm talking about Sylvia and Keith when the Doctor's doing... He's doing his musing on religions, which is a fascinating concept, isn't it? Is that obviously everyone thinks their religion is right, but all religions have, you know, commonalities to them, because, you know, we create them in our own image, and we and I'm not knocking religion. I'm not a religious person myself. I think, but I actually think having something that gives you a code of honor is important and good. I also think, and perhaps I don't. I'm too narcissistic. That I find the argument very convincing for religion, that you have to believe in something that you have no proof of, that you are deferent to make you have a sense of place, so that you're not the most important person in the world. And I think a lot of today's problems are to do with people thinking that they and their point of view are the most important and only. And actually, religion can work counter to that, because it can give you a sense of shared community and, as I say, a subservience to a greater thing, which makes you get over yourself. But I have to see it to believe it. I think, although I do like the idea, I just, it's just the fact that every different society has come up with their own religion. They can't all be right. Well, they can all be right if it's just that everyone's interpreted the same thing and got, and over the centuries, the stories have changed and metamorphosed, but they're all based on the same thing. And that's sort of what this is about, going, well, the devil is the devil in all these sorts of different religions, and they have their commonalities, but they're there, so they could all be based on the same person. Gabriel Wolf, they're all Sutek, they're all and I like the fact that has that continuity within the Doctor Who universe, as well as it is based very much on us, and I think David Tennant is so good here, and he's so good, and again, for a science fiction show, I think it's quite important to go, and at moments we just have to do things where we have a leap of faith, and it's not all science and maths, because science can be as restrictive and as cold as anything, and that can be its own sort of religion. Did they Chancellor Flavia, the singing lady piece of incidental music? I think they did. Go on, you're going to jump? Yeah, brilliant. That's a really thoughtful moment. But it's interesting, isn't it, that Rose and that lot are at the sort of heart of the action, and the Doctor's there sort of pondering about religion and all that. Oh, she's really good too. But of course, because the Ood have passed out now, we've got a little time. But there's still, for Rose, the Doctor is gone. So they keep being separated, and just as she's out of danger, she's now got to start worrying about him. Oh, and it's so sad for Ida, who just gets to sit on the. I wonder what it's like getting the script going. And what action? I get to sit on the edge of a plate. But actually, she gets some nice stuff to do, and she's really, really good at it. Yeah, off you go, getting off the place. Yeah. Oh, she's so good. That's what this era does well as well, is that, and I think Doctor Who, the advantage of going from place to place and story to story is every time you get introduced to a new bunch of characters, and you get characters you're interested in and you like, and if they're well drawn, you get to know them in the space of an hour and a half. And that's why I mentioned the Poseidon Adventure last time, is because basically every time you get to a Doctor Who story, not everyone's going to get out alive. In fact, there are so few stories where everybody lives that part of the game, if you like, is going, are they making me like this person because they're going to kill them? Or are they making me like this person because they're going to live and I'll be happy? And that's the wonderful thing about going to different places every time. Is this? I wonder how popular this one is. I'm surprised it's not more popular, because the season, I always used to get cross because the season finales always used to win the season polls because they're the season finales. But I think did this one come second after Army of Ghosts and Doomsday? I think it probably did. Oh, the twitching Ood. That's really horrible. That's really grim, but very, very good. And the Doctor is fine, and he's broken his helmet quiet at the back. Oh, I'll be surprised if Nick doesn't make something of that. But this is a classic, and because I do have some friends who don't like 2005 onwards, who are very much classic series people. I would hope that this is one that that even fans of, just stick in the muds who refuse to like anything beyond survival would acknowledge that this is good old proper Doctor Who. Because it's got everything. Except eulogies for Sylvia and Keith, which I'm not going to forgive them for. Oh, that's... And again, there's jeopardy there. Rose is gone. And you feel it, and it makes you think, how the hell is she going to get back to him? But of course, the bolt gun there is going to be used later, so it's not just there to show that Rose is trying to get back to the Doctor, and so that she doesn't just do a sort of mealy-mouthed protest or whatever. It's very clever seeding, because we know the bolt gun is there, which is now going to be used, spoilers, later on. But I remember thinking when this happened, I was like, well, where's the story going to go for me? Because they've sort of gone. What's the Doctor going to do? And that's a bit Quatermassy, because there's a whole bit in Quatermass in the Pit where in Roni's lab they have pictures of cave paintings over 30,000 years old, are they? And they're pictures of cavemen in ritual masks, and the ritual masks are gargoyles, and the gargoyles look like the Martians in the Pit, because the Martians in the Pit are reminiscent of Satan, the beast, blah, 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 blah. And that's where we get our satanic images from, ancient Mars. So it all ties in. That is an absolutely glorious special effect. It's a brilliant design. It's utterly terrifying. And they've still got the bad guy on board. Woody, he played in Casualty. He was a nice ambulance driver. Then I think he did Corrie for a bit. So you're good. And you feel the heat. The lighting there is great as well, because I suspect that's probably at 4:00 in the morning and absolutely bloody freezing. But they've made it look like he's baking in the glare of the beast's heat. But it's got a tongue. It's got broken teeth. It's the red. Because of the red of the devil, it's a bit like the Legend, isn't it? That Tom Cruise movie, which is again based on the picture of the devil. I think that's an absolutely terrific special effect. And again, Tennant is, you have a bit like Sean Parks with just pressing buttons and talking to nobody. David Tennant is doing all of this. He's not having a conversation. He is getting all of this out, but it doesn't seem like an info dump. It's the brains of the Doctor working it all out, and of course, and that's brilliant the way that it's cut like that. I know some people find that quite annoying, but I love that, because that's the Doctor's mind, sort of bish bash bosh. This is a man whose cogs whir so very quickly, and that's a sign of a genius mind working things out quicker than we ever possibly could. And he talks it through, which is very handy, because then we, the audience, get told it. It's brilliant. It's all so well done, and I love the wobble from the heat. It's in Toby. Toby is the devil. So the doctor's actually not able to do anything, is he? As far as he's again. So he's got. They're always worried about each other. These two. It's a bit like. It's a bit like having kids rather than a relationship. I was going to say it's a bit like being in a relationship. Well, no, it's not. It's not like having kids, because your kids don't worry about you at all. But when you have kids, you worry about them all the time. So I would be interested to see because the original scripts, I believe, were very, very different. I've never, as I say, I've never massively, I've not been able to go over any documents or anything from New Who. Nor am I in any hurry to do so. That's what I'll do. That's what I'll do when I'm claiming my pension, or I might, or other people will have done it first, and I can just. I can just read all about it. I've got, but yes, it means that's the wonderful thing about Doctor Who is that I experienced this as it went out, and obviously we learnt stuff with Doctor Who Confidential and contemporary interviews. In 15 years' time, there'll be more stuff to come because people will say things in interviews in 15 years' time that they won't say now, and they certainly wouldn't have said then. And I don't mean bad things either. I'm not a gossip, but because also time changes opinions. Actually, must say my Doctor Who scarf. When I was doing it and just after it, I was very proud of it and very happy with it. Then about 5 years later, I couldn't even listen to it, and I hated it. And actually, I'm slightly better. I got slightly better disposed to it when my kids wanted to listen to it. But now I'm a bit ambivalent. But that's because I haven't heard it for ages. But I know there are certain jokes I wouldn't now do that I did then. So your opinion on something changes. So that the people who made this will all have different views. I know this was Billie Piper's, I think, said her favourite one in the Radio Times interview. I wonder what she thinks, with the passage of time, or when you go back to it and watch it, and some things are better than you remember and some things are worse. So there's always going to be stuff to talk about and find out about these, but particularly what I started with, which is this I think had the Slitheen in it and was obviously very different. And I'd be really interested to see, the starting point, what it was, and what it became, and how many versions there were. And I'm sure that will come out at some point. Although, of course, modern Doctor Who is done quite often by email, I'm sure. So it's not like, production files from old stuff where everything had to be written down and on paper, and there's bits of paper for everything. I hope there's someone somewhere collating all of the emails, and that the internet suddenly doesn't melt and loses it all. Because I suppose, once you trade in your old computer or whatever, a lot of your stuff, I don't think I've got draft scripts from my Doctor Who scarf anymore, because I wrote them on a big old PC. Do you know what I mean? I don't think, and that crashed, and I think I lost a load of stuff. So, and did I ever print it off? Do you know what? I don't know that I did. Have I recorded it? Yes, I have. I suddenly had a panic. But this is a brilliant. That fire is great. But yeah, writing the history of this Doctor Who will rely very much, I suspect, on saying to Russell T Davies, can we look through all the attachments on your emails? It's quite a mimsy. It's got. I love this, and I think that the Burning Devil is absolutely fantastic. But I'm not quite sure why he's yelling at them and doing a little bit of amateur fire breathing. I mean, that's a good parting shot, and an ingenious way of getting rid of him. It's a bit bad for Toby, because are we to assume then that Toby was? Is it a Sergeant Arnold thing when we get to the Web of Fear? Oh, I've got a whole thing about the fact that Sergeant Arnold is in the Target book is only the intelligence when the intelligence needs him to be, and the rest of the time he's Sergeant Arnold. Whereas in the TV version, he's one of the first soldiers to die, and he's always been the intelligence as long as we know. I hate that, because Sergeant Arnold is such a good character. I think I prefer it that Toby was Toby as far as he was concerned, except for the bits where the devil took him over for those moments. But that actually doesn't tie in with that. And also it means that Rose has just murdered Toby, whereas if she's just may the devil get sucked out. That's slightly better. And do you know what? This finding of the TARDIS when we're in a story that's about leaps of faith is absolutely fine. I know some old school fan friends who would not forgive that, which I think is a bit churlish considering some of the things that old Doctor Who got away with. I think it's thematically appropriate that the Doctor should stumble across the TARDIS, and it has fallen down there, so why not? I think that's fine. And and at the last minute, they've been saved, and that works because he knows where they are. He knows they're on the ship. Boom, boom, boom. I think that all works. I think that's most satisfactory. I think it does meander slightly with the Doctor's philosophical bit, but which I know I talked through a lot, and I think I might have benefited from listening to, because I wonder if I would have enjoyed it more now that I'm a bit older and I'm not expecting the devil to come out of the hole, because I know it doesn't. And I think what he was talking about, is very interesting and thoughtful. But and you've got a good actor carrying a slightly more thoughtful part of the story, because it doesn't have to be all action adventure. You're getting there. You're getting all the actiony stuff with Rose and Jefferson and those guys in the tunnels. That's an interesting thing, though. He had time for one trip, so he could either save Ida or he could save all of the Ood. That is a bit. That is a bit. Human beings are more important than things that don't look like us. It's the similarities with the Ark there as well, aren't there? And I know a lot of people see the Ark as quite a reactionary thing, which I'd not read it as until Rob and I did Running Through Corridors, where Rob pointed out that it is a bit saying don't give the savages or the slash aliens their head, otherwise they only go and try and take over and steal things from you. And I hadn't read it like that at all, but it's there uncomfortably. And I think the human race get off quite lightly with the Ood, and in not going back to rescue them. I think the Doctor and and is that deliberate? I don't know. It doesn't all have to be neat and nice. But the story doesn't seem to give us a payoff for that. The story doesn't sort of go, but we're all a bit naughty for being like that. The stuff of lads now, and that's a bit cocky, guys. You're in trouble very soon. Yeah. What about? And now he's going to list all of the Ood. He's going to list them all in numerical order, which means I hope he's waiting for a big crescendo with Sylvia and Keith after the Ood, and with full military honours and statues in their name. Oh, and Love and Monsters. Gosh, this was weird for me because I was at Peter Kay's first ever stand-up gig. My goodness me. And there he was being in Doctor Who. And now John Bishop is in Doctor Who. I've gigged with a million times. Everybody I know is in Doctor Who. I love Love and Monsters. Can't wait to do that for this. I loved this year of Doctor Who. And it's interesting, I think... Don't know. Don't cut to the next episode. Don't cut to the next episode. How do I stop it doing that? Yes, like that. What was I? Oh, I was... what I didn't mention as well was that I love the fact that the writing on the wall is so old that the TARDIS hasn't been able to translate it. That's another thing where you're taking all the constituents of the show. So the TARDIS translation device, which is really, really handy. And you go, well, how do we make How do we make a thing really, really scary? Well, let's have it so old that this thing that is a confection, that is made up, that is part of our fiction, but is so deeply entrenched in part of our fiction, the TARDIS translation thing. If we now have a thing that it can't translate, that suddenly makes it go, oh, even though it actually means nothing. But it's great because it also means that you don't write what the words are. So, which is handy, because if written down, if we had seen what they were never going to be as scary as actually not knowing what the ancient screed says, because your imagination conjures more than words ever could. So I didn't mention that in episode 1, which I think is a great thing. So here we are. So I've got to choose. Oh, how many things has he chosen? Because he chose 4 last time, did Nick? So he's chosen first, second, third, and bonus. So I've got to choose 4 things. Well, the Satan pit, the special effect of the beast, which I think is absolutely extraordinary. And fantastic. A triumph that still looks really, really good. Jefferson's death, but that's the bit that got me the most. That that self-sacrifice I thought was terrific. Now, if I'd chosen Scooty's death in episode 1, which I should have done, I could have chosen the ensemble cast for this, but I can't. I think the design. I think the whole look of it, and the design / the whole aliens kind of aesthetic. So that ties in with the ood coming down the tunnels and all of that sort of stuff. The whole look of it. Tips out to James Strong, the director, as well. But I think yeah, the design, and the evocation of aliens. I think really. Is supremely effective, and the way that they've augmented the caves or the real rocky landscape that David Tennant and Claire Rushbrook are on. And one more thing. Well, it's got to be the casting of Gabriel Wolfe to stretch it back to Pyramids of Mars, and the fact that the beast sort of thematically links back to old Doctor Who, but also that helps to link the whole idea of the beast being linked across all religions and everything, the sort of interconnectedness of the fact that it's all sort of based on the same idea, and the fact that they've done that even within the lore of Doctor Who. I don't think I'm anywhere close to what Nick will choose, but let's see his first thing.
Thanks a lot, Toby. And as you see, I've recovered from my kablam explosion and got a new scarf as well. My first favourite bit of this episode is Rose Tyler transforming herself into the Doctor, or thinking like the Doctor thinks, which is a theme that I think evolves later on with other assistants, particularly Clara Oswald, who gets a bit carried away and thinks she actually is the Doctor. I mean, come on, darling, get over yourself. But Rose, it's good, like, oh, what do we do now? This is an impossible situation. Let's think about it. We'll do this, we'll do that. She gets them all into action, getting them down the shaft and all the rest of it. So I thought that was pretty cool, that, the Doctor was out of the picture, as it were. And she cracked on regardless. All power to the assistant, what's it, girl power? Assistant power. So I like that. I think that was the beginning. I mean, it's done before in more subtle ways in previous series in the classic, but that was the first time I think it was underlined that, right, I'm going to be the Doctor now. So I like that. So that was my first favourite bit.
Note to self, I will take David Tennant and Billie Piper, and in fact all of the regulars, for granted if I am not careful, because they're pretty spot on all of the time. So I must remember to make notes to go, I particularly like that bit the Doctor and Companion did, because I'm in danger of not mentioning them at all, because you look at because that's the thing about Doctor Who, you look at all the stuff that's new or peculiar, pardon me, to this particular adventure, which means you can seriously underestimate the very things that make you come back each week, which are the two very, very fine actors at the centre of the show, and they are great. So yeah, sorry, Billy Piper, David Tennant, because you're superb. Second thing.
And my second favourite bit is that really, really exciting bit when they go down the mine shaft, the shaft thing that connects all the corridors and all the rest of it. Because we love the base under siege thing anyway. I mean, it's such a classic Doctor Who thing, which is essentially what this story is. But it gets even more claustrophobic when they're down there, and he's having to move the air around the main guy to keep them breathing, and all the rest of the Uda following them. I really like that bit. And the climax of that bit for me was when Toby Zed is screaming to be let out, and then he turns around and goes like this with his red eyes, and you suddenly realise he's still in control of. He's still being controlled by the Ood. No, not the Ood, by the monster, but what is it? the creature from the pit. No, the Satan. Satan's pit. You see, you have to get up very early to catch me out, dear readers. But that is my second favourite bit of the episode.
Okay, I was thinking when he started that I was going to have that, but I'd specifically, I think, chosen the bit he didn't mention, which was Jefferson's self-sacrifice rather than Toby's bit. And yes, Toby is the beast. So I wonder when I suppose Toby dies as soon as the beast gets him. So he's never Toby after that. So why is he dead with honours then? Because he didn't do anything particularly brave, actually. And I think that actually undermines the honours that have been conferred upon everybody else, including Sylvia and Keith, who obviously get theirs off screen. Number 3.
Okay, my third favourite bit in this episode is not only one of my favourite bits in Doctor Who, but one of my favourite bits in drama, television drama. I love it so much. It's the scene where Ida, Scott and the Doctor are waiting by the pit. They think all is lost, and the Doctor decides to take a leap of faith and just jump in the pit, holding onto the rope. It's just a wonderful scene. I love it so much. It's directed by James Strong. Claire Rushbrook is Ida. She's fantastic. David Tennant, of course. Oh my God. And there's this wonderful image of him in his spacesuit, just holding on. It's just blackness. It's a very simple framed image, but it's so strong. And Ida sitting on the side, assuming they're both going to die. And there's this wonderful respect between them. It's a lovely conversation that allows the plot to just slow down a little bit, while we just have this lovely conversation about religion. And it's like unpeeling layers of an onion a little bit with the characters, particularly with Ida. There's one moment when she suddenly remembers her mum, and she just says, "Oh, my poor mum," or something like that. And it's just so well done. And it got me quite misty-eyed at that point, I must say. No, it did, a little bit, because it just felt very real that they were really in this situation, that they were going to die, and she was never going to see her mum again. And that little moment when she just mentions her mum implied a huge backstory, a whole world, a whole universe of her life, and her life with her mum, and things that were left unsaid, and arguments and all the rest of it. And I love that, the fact that, you could have a whole drama about Ida Scott's life with her mum, which we would love to see, particularly if Russell wrote it, because he does that sort of stuff so well. So I just thought that was very powerful. Then all the conversation about organised religion, and that killer line, "the things that men do." I thought, my God, this is just amazing drama. You want to see this in a clip in BAFTA to show all the, the people who think Doctor Who's just running up and down corridors, the fact that it can be like this as well. And not that running down corridors is not brilliant as well, I must say. But, the things that men do, which is just implied, just the evil that people could do. You think about the last few years with Brexit and Trump and all the rest of it. Let's not get started about that, and COVID. I think that one simple line spoke volumes to me. about what organised religion can be like, how it can affect people's lives. And I know in the future, Russell T Davies has banned religion on the spaceship, or whatever it was, when the Earth exploded, that bit. So I've just thought that was beautiful. As I said, I love the respect between them as scientists, and she almost became a companion in that scene. And I love the fact because so many scenes in Doctor Who are very heightened. There's lots of shouting, lots of angst, and in this scene, even though the stakes are really high, as I said, I love the fact it slows down, and there's just this lovely respect between them, like just a lovely conversation which we're privileged to hear. That's how I felt about it. It's quite profound, the whole thing, and at the end when he is going to let go, a leap of faith, and just see what happens, and she's really upset. She doesn't want him to go. She doesn't want to be on her own. And when he lets go, and he just says, and he talking about Rose, he says, "Oh, I want to tell Rose," and he can't say the words. What was he going to say? And so he just says, "Oh, she knows." And he just lets go, and it's so beautiful the way he flutters away. And you would have thought Marigold might have ramped up their music and oh my god, but no, it was soulful and beautiful, that moment, and shocking with its simplicity of just the blackness and him falling back. I'm blurbling on a bit, but I hope you're getting a sense of what I mean with this scene. I thought it was spectacular. Now, is there anything else I need to mention about that? Probably not. But yeah, I would say that's up there with the BAFTA acceptance speeches and the Oscars, and show that clip for all Doctor Who doubters out there.
Brilliant. Because do you know what? I had a nagging feeling, because I was being daft about Silver and Keith, that I'd undersold that bit, and because I think I needed to flag up that at the time I'd been slightly surprised that the story had sort of slowed down. And that image of the Doctor hanging in the darkness, and yeah, that she knows, I'd forgotten about that. And because of this, that I have to talk through stuff, I missed Ida's line about her mum, and I'd forgotten about that. That it's interesting that the bit that sort of moved me and got me is the heroic last stand of the military bit, and actually Nick's there. And sort of got me going a little bit in his description of something I've just watched, but was blooming well talking through. But it is very beautiful, and yeah, the soundtrack is lovely with it, or the sparseness of the soundtrack, and that quiet moment and the fall into nothing, and yeah, I did talk about the leap of faith, but actually the talking about religion sort of couching the evil that men do is very, very interesting stuff, and yeah, very profound and intelligent, but also terribly moving because of the connection between the two. So I'm grateful to Nick for enunciating that much better than I did at the time, or I'm not sure I did it at all, because I was dicking about, but that just goes to show, and I suppose it depends on your mood as well. And I was getting all excited and blah, 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 and there might be another time, and perhaps next time I watch this, I'll be a bit more thoughtful and philosophical, and also I'll be minded to sort of think about those bits because of this experience. So next time I visit this text, I will probably connect with a different piece of it. That's why we keep going back. You know, I've watched The Mutants 7 or 8 times, so there's no way I'm not going to watch The Satan Fit the Impossible Planet, you know, probably 20 or 30 times in my life, and I will get something different out of it, and certainly out of this, because it is so multi-layered and so thoughtful, as well as action-packed and exciting. And I'm only sorry I didn't give it its dues in that respect when we're doing it. So almost made me want to watch it again. Not going to. I've got to do the rest of the canon for this podcast. So what's Nick's bonus thing? So yeah, I definitely should have chosen that. One more thing, Nick.
Oh, sorry. just trying out COVID masks. I'm sure this scarf has got longer. Anyway, my final bit is my bonus bit. And it was going to be the fart in the ventilation shaft, because I thought it was quite funny. And I love the fact that Doctor Who, people can fart in Doctor Who, which makes it all real. It makes the Daleks completely real to me now. Farting Daleks. Hey, but that's not my bonus bit. My bonus bit is the end bit, because there's so much jeopardy at the end. You've got the Doctor stuck down at the pit. The Beast is going, oh, he's sort of dying and everything. He knows the mind of the Beast is somewhere else. It's in Toby's head. Spoilers, it's in Toby's head. They're being sucked into a black hole. Toby's head is going to kill them. Everything's all kicking off. And how are they possibly going to resolve that, dear readers? So, yeah, I mean, even though Doctor was on every single week, it's like, I really don't know how they're going to sort this out before the end of the episode, which was like, another 8 minutes time. And they do. Oh, my God. Particularly if you're a young child watching that, and you don't know the routine with Doctor Who, or Doctor Who usually gets out alive, or if he dies, he just comes back to life again, or she does. So that was my final favourite bit. But there was just so much jeopardy in that last few moments, and yet the Doctor saves the day. And to sum up, how would I rate this in terms of 1 to 10? Well, as far as I'm concerned, it's never too early for a 10 from Shirley.
Do you know what? I nearly said, when I said, I bet he hasn't chosen any of my things, I bet he's chosen, I think I then tailed off and went, not that, didn't I? I nearly said, I bet he's chosen the fart. I thought, no, come on now. I think he nearly did. Note to self, sometimes I think things and I don't say them, and then I afterwards wish I had. Say them. You can always edit them out. Oh, but that involves editing, and I don't want to do that. This is as you get it. This is splurge, guys. So I failed dismally on that, but I actually think Nick did perhaps a better job than I did of choosing things, I think justly and rightly celebrated a very, very good 2 episodes of Doctor Who. It's a really enjoyable show, really smart. One thing I didn't say that I'm now going to say is that I thought Keith might have been the cameraman, who's also uncredited, because I think his dialogue's sort of done later in ADR, who goes in to see the aliens in the Torchwood Children of Earth, when the episode where Yanto dies. And I remember thinking, isn't that the guy from? So I wonder if he was an extra that they used a lot, but I don't know because I haven't looked it up. But if I'm correct, I will be happy I've said it out loud, and if I'm not, I'll edit it out. So Nick is going to say cheerio. I think he's probably done a video for that as well. Yes, he has. Here's his end piece.
Hey Toby, I hope you guessed some of my favourite bits from The Impossible Planet and The Satan Pit, and it was great fun to do. And thank you so much for letting me be on your fantastic podcast, Happy Times and Places. Great fun. Everybody should watch this and listen to this every week because it's an audio and a video as well. I do a podcast called SNS Online. It's short for Scratch and Sniff, where we have lots of guests on. We scratch beneath the surface and have a good sniff of the guests. And guests have included, from the world of Doctor Who, Toby Hadoke, so check him out. Got to hear that one, obviously. Louise Jameson, Katie Manning, Julie Hessenhausch has been on, and loads more other people as well. Armstead Morpian, Alan Yentob, all sorts. Brilliant. Even though I say it myself, because nobody else will. No, they will. Well, hopefully they will if I pay them a little bit. Anyway, that's it from me for now. I heard a strange sci-fi noise in the cellar, and I'm going to investigate Doctor Who style. So until next time from me, goodbye.
Oh, that was really scary. I was expecting something slightly high camp. That was actually really horrible. So I think Nick has been killed by some sort of beast. But do listen to his podcast. I mean, Armistead Morpan, Alan Yentob, Toby Hadoke. Yes, some episodes I think are better than others. But really impressive roster of people. and he's a great host. And he's good fun, isn't he? He's good energy, good value. Doctor Who's brought lots of interesting and positive people and energy into my life, and I'm very happy about that. And I hope that you are happy too. So that's the second time somebody called Toby has been in Doctor Who, and the second time somebody called Toby Doctor Who has met a horrible, horrible end. Well, this is my horrible end, and I'll be seeing you for another Doctor Who adventure next time. Thanks for joining me in the Satan Pit, which is currently a very, very happy time and place, and it's about to close. Ta-ta. Well, thanks ever so much for listening to Happy Times and Places, which is presented by me, Toby Hadoke. My special guest this time around was Nick Randall, and didn't he throw himself into it? I can't wait till the video version of this comes out, but that will be sometime in the future. They do take longer. I would like to thank Nick. I would also like to thank the many patrons who make these podcasts possible, and they include Sydney Wilson, Jason Wilshire Mills, Rhys Williams, Rich Wiggins, Peter Ware, Gavin Ware, Alistair Wallace, Jeff Walker, Gary Wales, Lee Wakeley, John Turner, Sidney Trout, Jason Thompson, Paul Taylor-Greaves, Adam Stone, David Spotheth, David Spencer, Richard Smith, Trevor Smith, Paul Shields, John Sheehan, Frank Shales, Edward Salt, Samuel, Tom Salinsky, Gavin Reimel, Darren Rule, Alex Rowan, Paula Reynolds, Peter Reed, Rachel T.S., Corridors, Liam Price and John Pettigrew. The music is by Dave Gates and the artwork by Dylan Patterson. Oh, well, there we go. If you would like to add your name to the list of patrons, please go to patreon.com/Toby Hadoke. There you get advance releases, bonus material, exclusive stuff, and there are a couple of trinkets on the higher tier levels, but it's mostly there with the basic package, which costs £3 per month, and you can get a 10% discount on that, and indeed on any of the tiers, if you sign up for a year. Now, I know that kind of commitment can be a bit terrifying, so if you just want us to be sort of casual, if you want us to be internet buddies, you can go to Ko-fi.com/Toby Hadoke, and if you're feeling flush, or if you think I sound particularly hungry, you can donate at Ko-fi.com/Toby Hadoke, any amount that you like, whenever you like. But I know times are tough financially, and I expect nothing. I'm very grateful that you just listen to these, frankly. But how you could help, if you are so inclined, and you have just a little bit of time, is to go to iTunes or Podbean or wherever you get your podcasts from, and give these a 5-star review and perhaps a couple of encouraging lines of nice comment. It just helps to separate these out from the crowd. And if you're an American listener, please tell your American friends, because my downloads in the UK are flabbergastingly flattering. I think I could do with a few more from America, and I've always had a nice time when I've gone to America, and I do sound like you expect British people to sound. So if you have an American Doctor Who fan friend in your life, point them in the direction of this nonsense, because at least it's nonsense that sounds like this. And you can follow these podcasts at Hadoke Podcasts on Twitter. I have my own feed at Toby Hadoke. I'm also on Instagram, and there's a Facebook fan page for Toby Hadoke. I can't befriend anybody anymore. I have a surfeit of friends. I've only met about 4 of them, but I've reached the limit, so I'm trying to get all work and, interesting stuff that isn't, pictures of my mum, on my Toby Hadoke page. Is it on Facebook? So, yeah, do all of that. I don't really quite understand how it all works, but I'm just doing as I'm told. Thanks. I mean, I could just use the end credits and end bit from the actual episode 2 of this, but I re-record all of these fresh. I think it's because I didn't like it when UK Gold or whatever, or BBC Video, if they do an omnibus, if they just have the credits from one episode, it meant it missed people out. Quite often omnibuses would say, have the credits for episode 4, but that means if you're in episodes 1 to 3, you didn't get credited. That's not the case with this. Nobody would be missed out. But nonetheless, I'm hardwired to give each one bespoke closing bits, which is what this is. And ironically, I was just testing it to make sure it all worked, and I noticed I talked about watching this episode when the sun was shining and then recording it in the sort of recording the commentary in the cold and dark. Well, as I record this post-credit sequence, I've battened down the hatches because there is a gale raging outside. It really is like I'm in an impossible pit as gale force winds are blighting the land. So as I do this, I'm holding on to my hat, but I hope the weather is not inclement in the time and place that you are, and I hope to join you there very soon.